Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about a library called React Query. It's about fetching, but more importantly, it's about everything around the fetching operation itself. That includes caching, revalidating the cache, sharing the cache globally, and making it syntactically compatible with hooks. Now, there are just too many features in this one little library, so I'm just going to cover the basic essential features that you need to know to get started. First, install React Query in your project. And then we need to import a few things to set up the global cache in the index.js file. Wrap the app element using the React Query Cache provider. Set the Query Cache attribute to a new instance of Query Cache. Now in the component, we can import useQuery. This is the main function we'll use to make fetch requests. Technically, React Query doesn't provide a fetch utility for you, and it doesn't care how you do the fetching. It's only expecting a function that returns a promise, so it doesn't even have to be HTTP related. To keep it simple, we're just gonna mark the fetch and return a promise using a timer with local data. The useQuery function takes a name and the function that we just created. So in practice, this function is where you'll be making the fetch request and unpacking the response and returning a promise object. Let's call this a fetcher. For simplicity, we're just going to use our getProducts function as the fetcher. It's a valid fetcher as long as it's a function that returns a promise. useQuery will return a few things, but we'll only be using the data itself, the error, and a Boolean value that tells if the fetch is still loading. If you want a full list of items that this function returns, you can take a look at the source code. Go to Source, React, go to useQuery.ts. It's a TypeScript file. You can see query result here as a return type. We can go here and see that it extends from query result based. And here's a list of things that it returned. Back in the code, the way that we're going to use these variables is by using conditional rendering. Let's show a fetching indicator if the fetching is ongoing, and show an error message if there's an error. And finally, we're going to display the data in a list. Let's check it out in the browser. Wait 1 second, and we see the data. This response data will be cached, and this string argument is the cache key for uniquely associating a piece of data in a cache. So next time, in a different component, we fetch the same content with the same cache key. The cache data will be served first, and then it will make the request again and distribute the fresh data to all components that have previously made the same fetch. This is important, so once again, if another component makes the same fetch with the same cache key, it will receive the data from the cache immediately. It has not called the fetcher function yet at this point, so the UI will experience no lagging or delay. And then React Query will automatically call the fetcher. It's usually going to take some time for this to resolve. In our case, it's 1 second, and when the response is finally ready, it will update the cache, and in turn updating all the components that rely on the data in question. This is a basic idea of the stale while revalidate caching strategy. That's it for this video. We'll continue on React Query and talk about mutation in part B.